Welcome to the 4 p.m. Postdoc session. So we have a special treat for everybody, a musical fairy tale about networking, relationship development. This is, I imagine, the first of its kind at NPA.
Possibly the last of its kind.
We ask for forgiveness. I'm not an actor.
We ask for compassion.
So a couple of things. Number one, all the PDOs are next door. And so I want to make sure that we have more fun than they do. So the more you laugh, the more you clap, the louder this is. They'll be all jealous and be like, hey, what's going on in this room? These guys are much cooler and having a lot more fun than we are. That's what I want to hear. Thank you. Other announcements. So this is being recorded. We'll do a little bit of audience engagement, so just be aware of that. We look forward to that. It's part of the fun of all this. What else?
I think that's it. We're working on our sense of humor, too. We're trying to develop it.
I am Josh Henkin from STEM Career Services.
And I'm Mary Mitchell.
And we're going to try to entertain you for a little bit. And Jim, our music man.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much. We couldn't have done this without him.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Woo!
Once upon a time, in a land not far away, there lived a young postdoc named Josh, who had visions of bettering his position in life. Alas, totally clueless he was, outside the comfort of his laboratory, although well-intentioned and diligent. Seeking a job outside academia, he sought advice from his benevolent, though cranky, PI. She said, pointedly and surprisingly poetically, stay in academia, be a researcher like me. Only fools go into industry. Despite all appearances, no fool he. He watched her travailing in the laboratory through long, long hours, yet achieving a grant funding of paltry 5%. This is no life for me, thought he. Asleep, deep in the forest, in a dream magically came to her this strange, strange word: networking. Knowing, as he did, next to nothing about interacting with people outside the lab, let alone establishing meaningful relationships, he set his innocent mind to thinking. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The net result of this arduous and almost prayerful process of thinking was an invocation to the fairy godmother.
Oh, fairy godmother. I'm not so sure of myself when it comes to social interactions and networking. I don't like talking about myself, and you've probably seen me at other events, like the NPA raffles and happy hours. I'm a pretty shy guy. All those people, I don't know who to talk with. All that noise, I'm an introvert. Is this why I got a Ph.D.? Didn't I work hard enough to do that? Now it feels like I have to make networking another job on top of counting my yeast cells and breeding knockout mice.
Rugged, handsome, athletic, but also a Ph.D. researcher like many of you, who perhaps realized early on in his academic training that he did not want to pursue a career in academia. Well, Josh is in for a big surprise. To be a painful surprise, as long as he's prepared. Think about it. You would never have gone onto a rugby field without warming up. And you never would have begun an experiment if you didn't have your protocol, reagent, and supplies all ready for the experiment. You really need to learn how to network, Josh, and you need to learn why it's important.
So let's talk about networking for a second. I believe networking is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job, because you never know when a good opportunity may come your way to make a connection and meet someone who may help you in your professional career. And on the slide, I have 6 of many different opportunities where I do a lot of networking, or I have done networking. So we have an airport. I travel all across the country to do career development talks, and I meet people all the time. And I can tell you a personal story of mine. I was a AAAS fellow in the last year of my fellowship. I was taking a plane to go to Omaha, Nebraska to apply for a job in the tech transfer office at the University of Nebraska in Omaha. I was in line to board the plane, and I looked behind me, and there was a woman wearing a jacket that had a Medtronic symbol on it. And so I started talking to her about her job in the company of Medtronic, and little did I know, 6 weeks later, she put me in touch with a man who would be my boss for my next job. Had I never taken the initiative to talk to that woman, make the interaction, and speak with her, I probably wouldn't be here now because my life may have taken a different course. For example, the National Postdoctoral Association, we go to meetings all the time, and there's usually a spot in there at the end of the day, usually when you're tired, 4 to 6 p.m. for networking. But that doesn't mean you have to wait until that time to network. Tonight we have an event at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where the intention there is for networking. But if you were to see me at lunch and want to talk to me, are you going to be like, oh, no, I can't talk to Josh now. This isn't the time for networking. I got to wait. No, you need to approach people and take advantage of those opportunities. And so lab meetings, at the gym, barbecues with friends. I meet a lot of people walking my dog. And so these are all opportunities for you to go outside, network, and the greatest thing is you get to practice networking, practice the skills that we're going to talk about today, and do them in a relaxed and informal environment. And so when the time comes for the real event that you really care about, you have a lot of skills and experience behind you so that you'll do a great job when the time comes.
You are right on target, Josh. Now, let's talk about how that helps you build professional relationships.
So in a lot of cases, building a professional relationship with an employer starts with your resume. I'm a hiring manager, and oftentimes the first interaction and relationship that I have with a candidate is through their resume. That relationship is further deepened through a job interview. So you get to actually now meet that person face to face and learn a little bit more about them to deepen that relationship. Other ways of building professional relationships are through networking. And that comes in a variety of ways. So you can deliver your elevator pitch, and that's oftentimes the first start at building a relationship with somebody. You can be introduced to someone through your contacts and through mentors, another way of meeting people. And lastly, professional social media, such as LinkedIn, is an incredibly powerful tool that everyone in this room should be using to build relationships, expand your network, and help your career development. And lastly, having the right attitude makes a big difference. Being humble, a little bit of humility goes a long way. You're not here to teach somebody or preach to them or tell them what to do. You're trying to build a relationship. And that often comes from an even footing and setting realistic expectations. It's uncommon to think that the first time you meet someone, they're actually going to give you a job. You've got to develop that relationship and build trust with that person, and then perhaps something may happen following that.
We're building relationships here. And it doesn't mean we have to bond with every single person we meet. We don't even have to talk to every single person in the room. But it does mean that we need to be open to the possibilities, open to the opportunities when we speak to someone, that we have something to give them and they have something in return to give us. Josh? You have control over many elements that can increase the odds of building successful relationships. Your first impression can mean so much in determining whether someone will make a decision to engage with you or to leave you high and dry. For starters, there are two things I want you to master this round. One is how you look and how you sound. So let's give it a try. Who wants to practice this with Josh? Come on, we can do this. Come
Volunteer?
On.
Anyone? There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
What's your name?
Ben.
Ben. Thank you so much. So, Ben, I'm going to practice networking with you. And Ben, it's really nice to meet you.
Why aren't you looking at it?
How was that?
What do you think, Ben? Did it really rock?
No, it wasn't good.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate your candor, don't you, Josh? Josh, don't you appreciate Ben's candor?
I do indeed, Ben.
Probably not. I mean, I didn't find that particularly impressive, but let's keep going. Okay, Josh, we have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I mean, you certainly do leave a lasting impression.
Thank you.
It's just that it's not always very good. Sometimes it hurts my eyes to watch. Lucky for you, I know exactly how to help you. Just got to ask you, how do you think Josh reacted to Ben's comment? You think he really liked it? Probably not. Probably not. So, let's go through how we look, body language. And I'm going to come down with you, Josh, because you've got the clicker and I can see what's on the screen.
All right, come on down.
I would try to make this up, but you know, what can I tell you? Okay. All right. Josh, think about what people remember most about you in a first impression. What percentage, for example, of the first impression you make would you say are made by how you look, what people see?
These looks? Who can forget these looks? 75%.
Yeah, you're doing really well, Josh. 55%. Now, moving right along, how do you think, what percentage of your first impression do you think is made by the words you speak?
Everybody wants to hear what I have to say. Where's 100%?
Yeah. Keep looking, Josh. Keep looking. You're right on target, babe. A whopping 7%. Don't be depressed. And what about how you say whatever you're going to say? You know, your tone of voice, your cadence.
14%.
Yeah. Take a look. How about 38%? Humble. Would you sit? And now let's talk about body language, okay? Because what people see, we are judged, and we judge others more on the basis of what we see than any other single factor. Yes, of course, you're going to remember what somebody is wearing, but you're also going to remember whether they walk in with some kind of a confident attitude, you know, their posture. Do they look like they feel good about themselves? Are they going to make eye contact? You know, in the US, it is so important to make eye contact. And if you have trouble, oh Josh, how do you have 4 eyes? How am I supposed to make eye contact with you? I know, see, he's uncomfortable making eye contact. So what I'm really doing, I'm just looking at this space right above his nose. And you can fake it till you make it. So he thinks I'm looking at him directly, but I'm really not. I'm just sort of looking here. And then as I get more confident about the whole thing, then I can zoom in and make direct eye contact. And do you ever think to smile, Josh? Try an authentic smile. Can you tell he just came from the dentist and getting his teeth cleaned? He's so proud. And finally, you're going to extend your hand. We expect a handshake in this country, right? So come on, shake my hand, Josh. Why don't you shake Ben's hand? Ben, what'd you think?
Better.
See, all of us are teachable. Isn't that the coolest thing? What Josh did, Josh, pay attention, Josh locked in soft tissue to soft tissue. So when we shake hands, even though he's really a cool, tough, strong, rugged guy, he can't hurt me. Try to hurt me, Josh. Come on. Squeeze me. Today, Josh, please, today. Try it today. Thank you. But we do judge each other on the basis of our handshake. So, web space to web space. Let's keep going.
Ben, thank you so much. These are for you, for being a volunteer.
Thank you.
Don't you think Ben deserves?
Round of applause for Ben, yeah.
Okay. Now, how you sound is actually more important and more memorable than the actual words you speak. Remember, the words are only 7% of the impression you get from us. So, Josh, the prose warm up, shouldn't you?
Yes, fairy godmother. So if my body is the vehicle of my conversation, then my voice is the engine of my vehicle.
So we're thinking about how we articulate. Can people really understand what you're saying? Sometimes that means we have to slow down a little bit. And what about your pitch? If everything you say is way up here, do you sound like you have any self-confidence or any authority? I doubt it. And volume. I don't have to scream at you to get your attention. I bet that if I just speak like this, in a way that we might want to have a conversation with, you'd probably give me the benefit of your attention. And sometimes, if I really want your attention, I might just soften my voice and whisper because that's going to make you come in and want to hear every magical word I have to say. And energy, you know, we gotta keep pace with what we're saying. Have you ever had somebody say to you, I'm really excited about this project? What happens? Lack of credibility, right? And inflection, you know, it just makes our tone, what we're saying a little bit more musical, just to keep up with the energy of the moment. And our pace. Sometimes when we're nervous, we speed talk because we just want to get through whatever we're saying, and we have to think about, oh my God, what am I going to say next? But remember that the other person is hearing whatever it is you're saying probably for the first time, so they kind of need to catch up and keep pace with you. Click. Okay, are you ready? Now, to get your engine ready, I want you, Josh, to run through some vocal exercises that I have the birds do every morning in the forest before they start their day. Now, everybody stand up because, you know, he's going to be really shy. He's going to refuse to do this. So we need moral support. Are you ready? See, Josh? I know you were embarrassed. I know you were feeling nervous. But look at all these people who are here to support you.
Well, if you can get the audience to do it with me, then I'll do it.
Yay! Okay, so raise your arms and take a nice, big, deep breath. And let it out. And do that from your diaphragm, from your belly. You can really get into this, right? Okay, now just shrug your shoulders, scrunch them up. Just we let it down. Up again. Now we get to say something.
Ba, 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 ba. La, 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 la. And the last one is the siren, and it starts with a wee and it ends with an aw. And the wee is high and the aw is low. It goes wee, aw, wee, aw. All right, a round of applause, everybody. Thank you very much. Okay, fairy godmother, now that I've thoroughly embarrassed myself in front of all of these people and warmed up my voice, now can I go network?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. I think you've mastered posture. I mean, Josh, you know you've got like a plumb line attached to the top of your head. See that? Look at that. Is that beautiful? That's beautiful. Okay?
I follow directions well.
You've mastered eye contact with all four of your eyes. It's really marvelous. It's just marvelous. Your handshake is solid. It's memorable. And you've even got your voice warmed up and ready to go. I'm just a little unsure about what you're wearing.
What I'm wearing? Huh? What's wrong with what I'm wearing? I wear a lab coat all day long. Sometimes I even forget and wear my lab coat home.
What am I going to do with him? I'm a fairy godmother, not a miracle worker. Okay, take a look at this, Josh. I have some tips for you.
Where did I learn to dress for special occasions? Oh, I thought wearing a t-shirt without holes in the armpit was what I wore for special occasions.
It works kind of, Josh, but not here. Let's take a look at give you some ideas, okay?
Okay.
wear it on the job. You can wear it to that job interview. You can wear it to a networking event. Josh, you might even get to wear it on a date.
Ooh. Fairy godmother, do you mean to tell me that if I can get a sports coat like that, I can be as handsome as him?
Well, if you pray. You just have to pray, Josh. But let's try. Let me think about, oh, it's coming. It's coming. Well, Josh is attempting to deal with his wardrobe issues. The same principle goes for women. If you invest in just one quality garment that really fits, you can jazz it up in all kinds of ways. I mean, look at what I did. Really. Oh, Josh, you're awesome.
Thank you, Fairy godmother. Now I know how to dress for all these occasions, although I found my t-shirts a lot more comfortable.
Josh, you look great and you sound great. You look really professional. I think you're ready to go network. Do you have your elevator pitch ready?
Elevator pitch? Elevators are heavy. How am I supposed to pitch one?
Oh my God, this kid. Josh, if you don't have an elevator pitch, how will anybody know what you do, why you do it, and who benefits from it?
How you doing?
Okay.
All right, how about, what's up, doc? Ph.D., doctor. Where's your sense of humor? What about, trust me, I'm a doctor. What we talked about earlier, that networking is sort of an activity you do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then having a strong elevator pitch is really valuable for any of these interactions that you may come across, both in informal and in formal situations. And so when would you use it? Probably when someone says, tell me a little bit about yourself, but not during a job interview. Or in any informal gathering where the opportunity presents itself. And if you find that you're actually going to start networking in all of these situations where you may just come across random people that you meet, it's really important to have a strong elevator pitch that you're able to customize to the environment and the situation and the people that you're talking with. So what does it contain? Some personal roots, history of you, and a little bit of information that's authentic about you, because in order to build relationships, we want to be authentic and get in touch with someone at a level that's a little bit deeper, and then give a little bit of information about your educational background, some professional highlights, what you do, why you do what you do, and who it benefits, and lastly, what's next for you. So some basics for the elevator pitch. It's about definitely less than a minute, usually 30 to 45 seconds in ideal length. There's an introduction. You want to highlight key and relevant experiences and distinctions, provide evidence of your technical and transferable skills, and then prove that you are more than just a lab-based scientist. So let's build one now, together. Hi, my name is Josh Henkin, and I'm a third-year postdoc at the University of Vermont. I research how food impacts athletic performance. This is my introduction and my current position. Next, I'm going to do a personal story, which is sort of an authentic hook into the conversation to the listener. And I think that this is optional, but I'm a firm believer that if you're comfortable sharing this type of information, it's a really great way to start to build a relationship with someone. When I was in college, I got interested in nutrition research, and I learned how important proper eating is to increase sports endurance. That motivated me to get my master's degree in sports nutrition and my Ph.D. in muscle physiology. I volunteer with youth sport teams to teach good exercise and nutrition habits to youngsters. While earning my advanced degrees, I owned a bar and was fortunate enough to play rugby at the national and international levels. I even won gold and silver medals in an international rugby competitions playing for a USA rugby team. So here's a professional highlight and a noteworthy accomplishment. But Fairy Godmother, isn't that bragging? Am I going to put people off by bragging like that?
Josh, let me just remind you of what another very famous athlete once said. Dizzy Dean, Hall of Famer, said, "It ain't bragging if you can back it up." So leave in all the important details. You know, these are the kinds of things that make you memorable and even a little bit quirky, especially when you say you owned a bar, right? So, and the transferable skills that you gained in the laboratory and throughout your education and running a business can be highly applicable in a career outside academia. And remember earlier when we talked about humility? Well, there's a difference, a big difference between saying, "I am the greatest rugby player who ever lived," and saying, "I played rugby at the international level."
All right, I'll leave it in. I've been following cryptoproteins since NBC News reported that there was insufficient evidence to implicate them in any Olympic blood doping scandals. I'd like to learn more about the company culture of innovation that I've read so much about and why you like working there. So here I'm showing knowledge of the industry and the company culture that I'm looking for, and I start to draw the listener in. And I finish it up with a call to action to engage them and turn the conversation over to them so they'll start talking. Could you tell me about what you do and how long you've worked there?
Okay, Josh, that sounds like a really well-constructed elevator pitch. And you didn't even have to throw anything to deliver it. So go ahead, give it a shot.
Fairy godmother, I delivered my elevator pitch and it's going really, really well. But now I'm actually having a conversation with this person and I don't know what to do next.
Just like you do with the mice in the lab. You know, it's great that you've mastered your pitch, but that's really just the beginning. Let's talk about how to make the most of networking situations. And you know, these skills can be applied in just about every situation we find ourselves in. Networking, professional, and personal. What's important is that you recognize with whom you're meeting and the kind of impression you want to leave with them. So, let's practice so we can feel more comfortable about it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go. Go for it.
Do you like working at cryptoprotein?
Sometimes.
That didn't go very well. Do you find the company culture engaging?
Every now and then.
Okay, this is not going the way I planned it at all. Do you find that your academic research helps you in your job at cryptoprotein?
Nope.
Fairy godmother, I keep asking you these questions. You keep giving me these dumb answers.
Dumb? Josh, as long as you keep asking me dumb, one-word answer questions, I'm going to give you one-word answers. You know, this is when you need to start asking some open-ended questions, Josh.
You're not inviting me to share with you.
You know, the problem with your single-word answer questions was that you didn't ask me to share anything of myself with you. Think about that. You know, when you ask me something that helps me share with you, that can lead to a relationship. It could lead to a job one day for you, Grasshopper, or maybe even a new mentor, a collaborator, a girlfriend, who knows?
Okay, well, I'd like to get a new job, and this might surprise you all, but I do struggle to meet women. You mean they don't want to just hear about what a great scientist and rugby player I am? Okay, fairy godmother. Well, how do I learn to ask questions that will generate a conversation?
You know, it's pretty easy to do once you understand what an open-ended question really is. Basically, it's a question that you ask that's related to the person you're speaking with and the situation that you're talking about that invites them to provide a thoughtful answer. So here are a few examples.
I see. An open-ended question allows the person I'm speaking with to share information about themselves based on the question that I've asked them. Okay, fairy godmother, I can do that. I can ask some open-ended questions, but how do I make the most of these situations? It seems that I attend lots of events and I get lots of business cards, but I don't really make a lot of meaningful connections. And when I do make a connection, nothing really comes of it. I now have 28 LinkedIn connections, and only half of them are family members. How do I maintain these over time?
Remember we talked earlier about preparation? Well, there's another situation where being prepared can really help you to succeed, because it's going to help you achieve your networking goals. Let's talk about making connections first, and then I'll show you how to maintain them a little bit later.
Yes, fairy godmother, you are wise and you are a good listener. Before I enter a networking opportunity, you taught me to ask myself, what setting am I in? Am I in a bar? Am I in a conference? Am I in an academic environment? Maybe I'm in a career fair. Who is my audience? Are these peers? Are these potential employers? Are these potential collaborators or mentors? What do they want from me? Maybe they want some knowledge from me. Maybe they're looking for a collaboration. Maybe they're looking for someone who's a really hard worker and they want to hire them for a job. And lastly, what might I want from them? Maybe I'm looking for an introduction to someone else. Maybe I'm looking for a mentor. Maybe I'm looking for a job. Or maybe I'm looking to make some new friends.
You know, speaking about your audience, Josh, it's really important that we remember we have 4 generations actively participating in today's workplace. We've got baby boomers, Gen X, Y, and millennials. And I promise you that the way a baby boomer will perceive something is rather different from the way a millennial will perceive something. So it's really our job to think in terms of how our audience is perceiving things. Not about us, it's about them.
You know, fairy godmother, the activity of preparing for my networking event is providing great insight with how to increase the odds of making a meaningful connection with someone.
So, are you going to attend the networking event once this fairy tale ends at the end of at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tonight with all the members of the audience? I mean, how might that play out, Josh?
Heck yeah, I'm going to that. Well, the setting, it's informal, professional, it's fun. It's a social environment that will stimulate a lot of conversations. You know, Michael Jackson will be there, Bruce Springsteen. The audience, potential clients. There could be postdocs there, postdoc administrators that might want to hire me, colleagues to meet and people to learn from, NPA members to speak with and perhaps hear about their experience as members. What might they want from me? They might want me to listen to them. They might want me to share some experiences with them. They might be looking to me as a mentor, perhaps, or maybe they even want a job. Perhaps I might even find a rugby coach. What do I want from them? Well, I want them to listen to me, to share information, to be supportive, perhaps to give me some career advice, and perhaps to maybe give me a job, potentially.
That's a terrific assessment of what tonight's networking event might have in store for you. Once you arrive and you start to interact with people, I think it's really important to maximize the encounter by customizing your conversation. I mean, understand with whom you're talking. Start with getting to know them a little bit. Tell stories that connect both of you. Make them want to know more about you. Showcase your features, your benefits. I mean, you could be a solution to their workforce problems.
So I shouldn't be afraid to share something quirky about myself?
Oh, heavens no, it humanizes you. It makes you so memorable. I mean, here at NPA, we have postdocs who are Pilates instructors. We've got postdocs who are master quilters. We've got postdocs who are, Amika Mather from Case Western. She writes thriller mystery novels. I mean, wow. We all have something quirky that's not necessarily science related that makes us memorable. I know that you all have some quirky things. Come on, share with us. What makes you really interesting besides your science? Come on. I teach Zumba. I have 5 kids. You have 5 kids. I'm impressed. God bless you. Yeah. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah.
I squeeze the toothpaste from the middle of the tube.
You might be working for that person someday.
Okay, so after I start with getting to know someone, I want to tell them stories that bring a connection between us, which we're going to go into a little bit of detail later on. And then lastly, I want to make them want to know more about me, and that I can do this by sharing interesting information that reveals how I might bring value to them or their organization. You go there and you skip the lunch.
Okay, so as you move past your elevator pitch to a conversation with somebody, start with trying to get to know them. Listen to what they're saying, and then think about what kinds of questions you might ask based on the information you've learned.
So
After that, tailor your conversation just the way we talked about earlier.
So you mean if I'm speaking with a professional colleague and looking to them to introduce me to one of their colleagues, I'd ask different questions than if I was speaking to a hiring manager at Crypto Protein, or if I was seeking mentorship from Dr. Leanne Redman, who was the recipient of the 2018 NPA Garnet Powers and Associates Incorporated Mentor Award. Be sure to attend the event tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m. after the keynote address in Grand Ballroom A right here.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Shameless plug.
You can do this by asking open-ended questions that allow you to learn about the person you're talking with and to use your active listening skills to follow up with information about yourself that's relevant to the conversation you're having.
Did you say something? I was thinking about the reception at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tonight that everyone's going to after this. It's going to be hotter than a double flame Bunsen burner.
Josh, if you're looking to build a relationship, you better pay attention and look like you're paying attention. You know, you're constantly providing visual communication to your surroundings during each and every interaction you have.
Okay, Fairy Godmother, I think I understand. I'm going to try to get another volunteer from the audience to see if they want to help me with this. Anybody want to volunteer to work with me? Right there, beautiful. What's your name? What's your name?
Manu.
Manu, thank you so much. So Manu, I want you to tell me about the best vacation you ever had.
Best vacation I ever had. That was recently in February. I went to India to attend my brother's wedding, so that was the best so far.
That is an amazing vacation. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
She was in Australia.
Oh, I said India.
Oh,
Yeah, you were really engaged with that, weren't you, Josh?
of course I was. I wasn't thinking about the free hors d'oeuvres and the free dinner at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tonight. Didn't you feel like I was paying attention and engaging to you?
No, I thought you were checking your phone or something.
Now be honest. I want you to be honest
Yes.
with all your conversations because, you know, he won't hurt you if this exercise helps him learn something. No fist, Josh, no fist.
Okay, do you want to try it again?
I guess I have to now.
Peer pressure.
Nothing like ad-libbing. Manu, please tell me about your vacation.
So I went to India last month for my brother's wedding.
That sounds fascinating. Thank you so much. A round of applause for Manu. And Manu, we have a gift for you. I'll give it to you later. We have one for you.
You know, I think our pets can be terrific teachers. Now, I'd like to introduce Jaja. She's our French bulldog. And you might notice, Josh, pay attention, that I personally think her best features are her ears. The lesson here, Josh, is that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen twice as much as we speak. Doesn't that make sense?
Sure does. So, now I get it. I want the other person to talk so that I can learn about them, such as some of their professional challenges, their experiences, their likes and dislikes, and then I need to do that and look like I'm engaged and be engaged to the conversation, and then I can share parts of me that relate to what my counterpart was talking about?
Oh, you are right on track.
So then how do I know that the other person's going to be interested in what I have to say?
Tell a story. An easy way to be memorable and to share your experiences with somebody is by telling them a story. Now, the story needs to be concise. It needs to have some impact. It has to have some meaning. But they should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And allow somebody to really quickly understand the point you're trying to make. But to do it in a manner that makes them remember you, makes you memorable, and remembers your skills, your abilities, and your personality.
Okay, so there's significant research that supports that the art of storytelling is very beneficial to developing relationships. And if you look at the research, it says that stories are more than 22 times more memorable than facts alone. So if we talk to people and we share our scientific information, we share our research, and we do it in the form of a story, it's much more memorable for the listener. In addition, our brains are far more active when we hear stories so that we retain information much better. So what you're communicating to someone will be retained by them much longer. And then also, when you're telling a story with someone, your research shows that your brains are actually in sync with them. And so that actually helps you connect with them and build that relationship.
I can tell you a story.
And lastly, storytelling combined with statistics, and we all like to talk about statistics, has a 60 to 70% retention rate.
For example, after writing etiquette columns and etiquette books for 25 years, I decided to transform myself into a fairy godmother. So, practice limited to postdocs. Now, the most difficult part of this process was to find the accessories, especially a magic wand that really works. Now, Josh, I'm sure you have lots of great stories from your experiences owning a bar and playing rugby, but you might not want to share all of them with somebody you just met. I mean, I've known you for 3 years. Quite yet. So you might want to plan and prepare the kinds of stories that are reasonable and appropriate for any given audience.
Sounds good. So storytelling is part art and part science. And the art part is communicating your humanity, your authenticity in the story. Everyone in this room has a unique story to tell and a unique way of telling that story. You want to make sure that you don't preach or teach to anybody. Again, you're trying to build a relationship. You're no better than them. Remember the humility part we spoke about earlier. You want to engage the attention of others. And a lot of times you can do that based off of many of the things we talked about before. Your body language, your tone, your energy. Wrap all those traits and qualities and skills that we talked about that you possess into your storytelling so you tell a very impactful and long-lasting story that people will remember you by. The science of storytelling is that there are several different techniques to sharing stories. We're going to go through 3 of them here very quickly. You guys will have these slides to download after the event. The first is called the STAR technique, and this is commonly used for both interview settings and storytelling situations. And you share a situation, a task, the activities in which you were involved in, the results, and then you relate that back to the person that you were talking to and how you might be able to tie into them somehow. And then we're going to give you an example of that as well that you can read later on. And one of the things that we suggest is that you actually read the stories that we put up here for you and then go back and see how they fit into the models that we share. The second technique is called, is a common technique that, and most novels and movies are created off of this technique. And there are 8 steps. There's you, there's a character, and then the character has a need. They are looking for something. There's a desire. Then they go on a journey. They seek out that need. Then they find what they're looking for, or they search rather, and the character adapts to the particular journey. And then they find what they're looking for, or maybe they don't get what they're looking for. They might not get what they want. And stories about failure are often very good to share as well because it shows how you may overcome adversity. Then there's a take. You pay a price for what you did. You return, you go back to your comfort zone, or you have a new comfort zone, and you've changed somehow from this. There's a truncated version that only has 5 steps, and that may be easier for you guys to craft stories as well. And our sample story is going to be included here as well. And the last thing about storytelling to remember is you want to keep telling the punchline early on to keep the listener engaged. It does you no good to tell a long, drawn-out story that may be really exciting, but it takes you 3 or 4 minutes to get to the exciting part. You may lose that listener early on there. Also remember that you're good at what you do. These are ways for you to enhance yourself and sell yourself as something valuable to the person that you're speaking with. So make sure that you cast yourself in the best light possible and tell stories that show your strengths. You also want to highlight both your technical and your transferable skills. I find so common when I meet with people and talk with individuals that they always emphasize their technical skills and they fail to recognize the importance of their transferable skills and how many, many organizations will value your transferable skills equally, if not more, than your technical skills. Also remember that brand names sell. So if you have a short period of time to impress someone, and you can tell them that you work for a Fortune 500 company, or you have a lot of experience with the latest techniques, that may be better than saying you work for a local mom and pop store in your hometown. They may not know what that organization is. And then lastly, be results focused so that the people that you're speaking to and trying to engage with recognize that you are good at what you do and you deliver results, and if you've done it in the past, you can do it in the future for them. Fairy godmother. Storytelling seems like a great way to build relationships and share information with someone that is pertinent and relevant to a specific situation. I tell my lab rats stories all the time when I'm feeding them, but they don't give me much feedback. How do I get better at practicing or telling stories?
Josh, you must have somebody in your life, a colleague, a partner, a friend, a pal, that you trust, that you can practice storytelling with. Ask each other questions. Tell each other stories. And then if you're really dedicated to the practice, record each other. Listen to yourself to find out which stories might be more effective in with whatever audience you're addressing. That kind of practice helps you fine-tune your message and tell stories that are memorable and engaging.
Thank you, Fairy Godmother. Now I understand the importance of storytelling to share my experiences with people that I meet. You've made me think about some other ideas that might help build and deepen relationships as well. Try to offer something to help your counterpart. Compliment them, or their work possibly. Ask them for personal advice or advice that may help you in your career. Make an introduction from them to someone else. They may value that of you. And then you could make a recommendation to them about something, like maybe a recent article you read that could be very beneficial to the work that they're doing.
Gosh, you know what? You are looking great and you're sounding great.
Oh, shucks. Nah, I'm not.
Josh, when somebody gives you a compliment, smile, say thank you, and shut up.
Point taken, fairy godmother.
Now, again, important to be willing to give before you ask to receive. You know, the single biggest networking mistake that people make is walking up to somebody that they don't really know, with whom they don't have a relationship, and asking them for something.
So I shouldn't ask someone for a job the moment I meet them?
Good thinking.
All righty. So in addition, you don't want to give someone work to do. And this is a common mistake that I find happens very frequently. I will meet a bunch of people in a lot of different environments, and oftentimes they're very complimentary of the exchange, and they say, you know, Josh, if there's anything I can do for you moving forward, just let me know. And how many people in this room have said that when they've met someone that they want to stay connected with? I imagine a lot of you, right. But actually what you're doing is giving that person work, because you're making that person figure out how they can find a way to have you help them, as opposed to directly saying, you know, Josh, there's someone who I think you would love to meet. I will put you in touch with so-and-so if you'd like for me to do that. Or, hey, Josh, here's an article that I think you would really enjoy. I'll send it to you. That way you're actually directly giving them something to help them, as opposed to giving them the opportunity to figure out how you may actually help them in the future. It's a much better technique. Thank you, Fairy Godmother, for all of your help. I'm going to give this new approach a shot.
Go for it, Josh.
So hold on, you actually have jobs that are available? This is Jamie from Milton Biotech, and she is one of our conference vendors in the exhibit hall, and she has several job openings: field application scientist, flow cytometry specialist, clinical application scientist, and a lot of technical positions. So if anybody's looking for a job right now, please speak to her after the event. This is Jamie. And she will also be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame museum tonight talking to people. These are nationwide and global opportunities. So they are looking to hire people. If you need a job, go directly to her, and I'll have some business cards for her as well. If you can't find her, you can find me. Jamie, that's wonderful news. Thank you so much. I will send you a LinkedIn connection, and I will also connect with that colleague of mine that you're looking for, who I think might want a job as well and be a perfect fit for your position. Wow, it was really nice talking to you, Sean. Let's touch base soon, and I'll be sure to send you an invitation to that LinkedIn group that I think you would really enjoy. I believe it will be very interesting for the research you're doing on geriatrics that are Olympians, taking performance enhancement steroids. Fairy Godmother, I feel so alive. Thank you so much for your help. I guess my work here is done.
Don't jump out of your cleats so fast, Grasshopper. Your job is not finished. You've done a great job with your elevator pitch and developing some relationships with people you've just met. But there's still more work to do.
Come on, more work?
Any good professional connection needs to be nurtured and cultivated so the relationship can grow. I mean, think about it. Relationships that are not nurtured become vulnerable. Remember, just because you meet somebody today and you had a nice conversation with them, doesn't mean that a year from now they're going to remember you and want to help you if you need some help. You need to reinforce the relationship. You need to follow up with every person you met today with an email and find ways to stay in touch with the people you believe are important contacts to maintain.
What? That sounds like a lot of work. This networking and relationship building requires way more work than I thought. Jeez, maybe I should just make friends with my cells and leave it at that. So remember, an initial networking interaction is purely just a conversation. It doesn't become a relationship until you start to nurture and cultivate it. Here's a list of essential steps for you to follow to build on relationships with someone that you've recently met. So you can thank the contact. You can send them an email. You can follow up with a LinkedIn request possibly. You can give them a phone call if appropriate or possibly send them a note. You should reflect on the conversation in this communication. And, for example, I could tell a potential vendor that, I really was interested in talking to them and I look forward to possibly being on their short list of people to demo new equipment perhaps. I want to figure out when I follow up, is there something that they owe me? Maybe that they said that they would do something for me. They may send something to me that I requested in the conversation, or I may owe them something. And so there may be some follow-up action on my part that I've got to take. And then lastly, I need to do this in a very timely fashion.
Yeah, don't let more than about 48 hours go by without following up.
Fairy godmother, is that all I have to do, or will I need to keep in touch with people over the course of time? I find that I can easily lose touch with someone that I have had an exciting conversation with, but I don't really know how to keep in touch with some of these people that I don't see on a regular basis.
That's a great point. And I imagine that a lot of people here struggle with the very same issue. How do you stay in touch? Maintaining relationships over time is actually easier than you might think. Here are some ways I use to maintain relationships. Congratulate someone. You hear on LinkedIn that they had a job promotion or they got an award. Congratulate them. Let them know that they are on your radar screen. Let people know your own accomplishments. Let them know, let people know if you've gotten a promotion or if your softball team just won the championship. Let them know. It doesn't have to be necessarily about science. Ask them for advice. If you have a connection, if you really have a relationship, your friends are willing to invest their time and their attention in giving you the advice that might help you because they know you'll pay it forward. Send them links to articles, to news events, or research that might be interested in them. Send them cartoons that you find in the newspapers or online. Introduce them to your contacts, and acknowledge holidays, special events, special occasions.
Okay, Fairy Godmother, those are very useful ideas and suggestions, but I'm out of here. I hear the free drinks at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame only last for so long, and I want to be there. It's time to party.
No. Because I have one more piece of wisdom to share with you today. I promise you that a year from now, you will wish that you had started practicing today.
I'd be a fool not to, Fairy Grandmother.
So, yeah, and you're no fool, so...
It's late.
So, you're not out of here, Josh. No free drinks for at least another hour and a half. Okay? So, what I want you to do, Josh, is take this tip sheet. You will all have this. It's online. You can access it. It's our playbill and all kinds of information that summarize what we've done today. Okay? Now, thank you. I saw a question. I saw a hand up. You'll have to ask our music director. But it's Peter and the Wolf. You can get it on YouTube.
So we ran a little late. It's 5:12, and so we thank you all so much for your attendance. I hope you enjoyed it. We will stay here and answer any questions one-on-one you guys have, but I know that the buses leave, I think, starting at 6 p.m. to go to the Hall of Fame. I'll be there. Mary will be there.
Darn right. And so
6:30? 6:30, okay, so plenty of time. Oh, do we?
Yes.
Beautiful, then we ended right on time. So we'll take questions.
Anybody?
Any questions?
Yeah.
So, I once got the advice from a PI that the best way to network is to develop a drinking problem. Can you hear me now? Great. I also teach high school. I was once given the advice from a PI that the best way to network is just to develop a drinking problem. Neat, right? That doesn't apply for everyone. I think a lot of us here have different situations, either from, I don't need this, either from some sort of personal decision, a religious decision, or a personal circumstance that make us feel uncomfortable with certain networking situations. Like, say, I don't drink and I don't feel comfortable around alcohol. Do you have any advice for that sort of situation and the best ways to network in that situation?
I do. I do.
Thanks, fairy godmother.
I think many of us, first of all, there is absolutely no reason to apologize for not drinking alcohol. There's all kinds of reasons why one might avoid it. What I do, and I love wine, fair enough to tell you that, but I also know that when I have, that one glass of wine is going to hit me a lot harder if I'm feeling stressful and anxious going into, I'm an introvert, these things are stressful. So when somebody starts pushing the alcohol to me, like, oh, come on, have a drink, I just say, today just feels like a ginger ale day to me. And when I use the word today, it removes the judgment about alcohol, so everybody else feels entirely comfortable with whatever decision or choices they've made. That help? Okay.
It was really hilarious. Thank you, guys. So, dear Fairy, Josh, I have a question. First of all, I should mention here at NPA conference.
That's not going on LinkedIn.
Okay. It's extremely easy to network. Everyone is super friendly. But sometimes when I go to some other professional networking events, and when you meet with people from companies, sometimes I feel like I need them more than they need me because I'm seeking for their advice, or I wouldn't say protection, but I need some information from them. I would like to network, but I feel I'm more interested in them than they in me. So I don't know how to overcome this feeling and what I can offer for them. You have any suggestions?
So there oftentimes is a balance of power that is not equal when it comes to those types of situations that you described. And this is partly where being unique and interesting really can leave a mark on somebody. So if I were to go into that situation, I were to say to someone, well, I owned a bar while I got my Ph.D., that's different than anybody else in the room is going to tell them. And most likely, when I follow up afterwards and I say, hey, I was the person who we spoke and I owned the bar, that's going to stick out in their mind and they're going to remember me because of that. And so you must have things about you that are very unique, quirky, interesting, that you can share in that conversation to leave with that individual so that they remember you. In addition, if you highlight, and some of the things we said, showcase your features and values, that you could be a workforce solution to their needs, that gives you a better understanding of how you can help them in ways that other people might not be doing that. Because, so I have a full-time day job and I hire a lot of science and technology graduates. When I have a vacancy, that is a problem. You could be the solution to my problem. And so that flips the balance of power in a lot of ways, because then I may need you more than you need me in that case. And so part of that is doing your homework, and part of that is engaging in a conversation such and asking the right questions to figure out how you plug in to that individual. Is that helpful? Sure.
And when we ask questions of the other person and we really listen, that's when we have the opportunity to say, tell me more, or how did that work out? And then you might share some of your own experiences. And also follow up. You know, if you want some information, fair enough to follow up with the other individual and say, you know, we talked about, and I reflect the conversation so that that person knows you were paying attention. And then ask if you might have 5 minutes of their time by telephone to speak with them.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Adam. Hi. Full disclosure, I'm not a postdoc or a Ph.D. So I work for Thermo Fisher, and up in Boston, I'm part of the hiring team. And I just thought I could quickly add my 2 cents here, which is that when I interview some postdocs, it's this weird effect. I don't know, you all have PTSD or something like that. You're so sad sometimes, or afraid to talk about the cool things that you've done. So I just want to throw it out there. Be really proud about what you guys have done. You're some of the most educated people on the planet. It's a pleasure to hear about the work that you do. Yeah. So that's my only thing. If you're going to be networking, or whether it's with a company or anyone else, be really excited to talk about what you do. It's really cool, and you should be proud of all the stuff that's going on. So thank you.
That's a great comment. Thank you, Adam. And that speaks to many of the things we talked about: energy, selling yourself, putting yourself in the best possible light. You know, you have a lot to offer, just like Adam said.
So my question on maintaining the long-term relationships, how do you kind of balance staying in touch with being irritating? Because I know my old PI, and he was kind of high up, he would always complain about the number of emails he got from people he half remembered. And like, I love talking to people, but I don't look at my inbox for a day and I have like 100 unread messages. So how do you balance that?
I would not inundate somebody, but just let them know, you know, maybe every few months or so. Send them something that just lets them know that they're on your radar screen. And Ellen, do you have a question? I bet you have a good comment.
I have a suggestion.
Getting my steps into there.
So somebody once said to me in response to that, they have an email line that the subject says, "There's a fine line between nagging and persistence. I hope I haven't crossed it." And it always gets a laugh, and it always gets a response. And the other thing I would share is that it's really important to write handwritten thank you notes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you all know what a postage stamp looks like? I mean, think about when you send, when you go into your mailbox at the end of the day and you know, you get some catalogs, you get some bills, you get junk mail, and there's one envelope, and it has a real stamp on it, and it's handwritten with your name on it. How many of you tear that one open first? How many of you save it, like for dessert after all the other stuff? Yeah. I rest my case. Everybody looks at that as special. And when we send a handwritten note to somebody, it's a complete win-win. I get the note, it makes me feel special because somebody invested the time and the attention to write to me, and then I open the note and I think, whoa, Ellen is really cool. How special is that? She took the time to write to me. So it's a win-win. And I promise you, even though I don't have a PhD in business, you will never get a better return on your investment. Yes.
I wanted to add one thing, because I can't just sit here pushing a computer button all day. I gave a talk on interviewing techniques to high school seniors. I do that frequently, actually. And at the end of the talk, I mentioned the importance, as Mary just said, of the handwritten thank you note. And the high school senior English teacher raised his hand and says, I want to tell you a story, so I'm going to tell you his story. He said, I had to interview 600 kids for a scholarship. And this was 4 years ago. And I said, well, that was a lot of people to interview. I said, did you get any handwritten thank you notes? He said, yes, 2. I said, do you remember the names of those 2 people from 4 years ago? He said, absolutely, I do. Absolutely. It makes a big difference.
So I'll follow up that question with one more comment, which is I recently learned the term infobesity. We are bombarded and inundated with too much information. And I think what you're speaking to is, how frequently do you communicate with someone because you don't want to overload them? And I think that the answer may be, are you giving them relevant and pertinent and useful information that they actually will value? And if you were to be on the receiving end of that information that you actually would value, it's going to strengthen that relationship that you have with the individual. If they send you Garfield cartoons and things that aren't really pertinent and necessary to what you're doing, then you may lose that value. So I think you got to find that trade space and that balance of what relationship you have with that individual and how you can add value to them until it becomes a very evenly balanced relationship. Yes.
Brother, you can hear me already, right? No?
We'll still do it.
Okay, take that. I cannot project very well. So I have a question from a non-native English speaker, right? That sometimes goes to conferences or meeting and want to ask question, but they are afraid of interacting because they are scared they can be judged for their own accent, for their own for mistake they make during talk. So how we can avoid this? There is a trick we can use, what we can do.
I would say, again, first of all, what is your native tongue?
Alessandro.
I'm sorry, didn't you?
Alessandro.
But what is your native language?
Excuse me, my Italian.
Italian. Alessandro, your English is 100 times better than my Italian will ever be. That's point number 1. What's important are just those points that we listed on the earlier slide about take your time, articulate your words, and don't hesitate to say to somebody, am I being clear? Don't say to somebody, do you understand? Because if you say, as soon as they hear you, they go on the defensive. But when you say, am I being clear? All they can do is admire you for your command of the language in the first place, and also admire you for being concerned and engaged and for prioritizing what they're thinking.
And so I'd also add that we talked about humility and authenticity. And so if you were to say to somebody, English isn't my first language, and I've been in the United States for X number of years, that may be part of your story and sharing the authenticity for you. And that may help build that relationship. And lastly, practicing this in those non-stressful situations so you can figure out how do you slow your pace if you talk fast? How do you enunciate and articulate the words? How do you provide the right tone, clarity, energy for those conversations so when they count, you're far more effective?
So thank you. And I think today's presentation is really good, and also it's not only building up the relationship, networking the relationship, it's also about how to maintain that, right? Because I feel the same problem like the girl was saying, hard to maintain that connection. So previously I once heard a presentation, the presenter was one of our professors, and she said, it's very important that you update your current situation with your previous PI, your previous advisors, like what kind of paper that you have published, what kind of research that you were doing. And so my question is, how can we kind of adjust our tone in the email instead of to avoid showing off and bragging? Am I being clear?
Clear to me. Do you want this? Okay, so I think, number one, if you're active on LinkedIn and you update your LinkedIn profile, people will see that. And then if they're in this talk, they may comment on you because your colleagues and peers are going to see that you published a new paper, and they're going to reach out to you and say, congratulations on that paper that you just published. In addition, it depends on the kind of relationship I believe you want to maintain with that individual. If that person may be a future employer of yours or someone that you're trying to stay in touch with because of the work that you do, it's very important for you to say, hey, you know, I got another publication, we discovered this, or, you know, we understand that this mechanism of action is now doing this, and share a little bit about that discovery with them because it was publication worthy. And so in a way, that's not bragging, that's helping a colleague understand the advancements of the field, and you're sharing in that experience of growing basic science or whatever kind of research you're doing with your peers. And so the tone and the context has a great deal to do with how that message may be received. And if you position it in a way that shows humility, shows authenticity, I think it's a great way to build a relationship.
We have time for one more question, and I believe there was a question over here. See, he's such an athlete, don't you love it?
I actually have more of a comment than a question, and it follows up with that great question about English not being your native language. I worked in a department where I feel like most people did not speak English as their native language, and I often communicated with them, and I have found that the best avenue, this goes for native English speakers or not, is humor. So if you even just develop one joke, like I have seen it happen, conference, presentation after another, you can struggle through something and then, like I was just at a conference yesterday about aging and someone was really struggling through their speech and someone asked, okay, what is aging? And he just paused and said, aging is what makes a postdoc a professor and a professor a dead person. And everybody laughed and we were all that much more like patient with waiting to hear what that person was saying. So I think if you have a couple funny things just to like start a conversation or chime in, it really adds that connection, and I think it's a good starting place if you have struggles. So that's my thought.
You all have so much to share, and we are so privileged to be part of this. We thank you, and we're here for the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you at the Rock and Roll Museum, baby.
Thank you all very much.